Dr. Valerie Allain has the largest collection of fish stomachs in the world. Almost 100,000 tissue samples are packed into 12 freezers in her laboratory in Noumea.
And I'm not sure how many samples I have, so I need to check that.
The tissue bank includes almost 16,000 tuna stomachs, along with samples of spine, liver, muscle tissue and ear bones. Observers and scientists on fishing boats collect samples, freeze them and send them back.
So having the samples coming back to Noumea is a very big challenge because we're talking about frozen samples.
The tissue tuna bank allows scientists to understand tuna, what they eat and how they are changing.
Surprisingly enough, we still need to collect samples and biological samples because we are still lacking basic information on the biology of some of the tuna and other species.
Valerie began collecting samples in 2001.
So my interest, and this is how the tuna tissue bank started, is really to look at the interaction between tuna and other species in the ocean, and the main way the species are interacting is through the food web, so who eats who, so prey-predator relationship. And so one way to study it is to look at stomach contents.
Checking the diet of tuna can tell a lot about the way they live.
Basically opening the stomachs, we look at the prey that are inside the tuna, and we get some knowledge about how much they eat and what are the other species they eat.
Analyzing the contents of their stomach shows that fish are cannibals.
One of the surprising results we got, or at least it surprised me, is that skipjack tuna is basically feeding mainly on other skipjack. So adults are eating smaller skipjack tuna, so there's a high rate of cannibalism in this species.
Scientists are moving towards an ecosystem approach, looking at the fishery as a whole rather than looking at each fish species separately.
So if you want to try and manage a species on its own, but not, putting your hands on your eyes and saying, oh, it's nothing else is happening, you're kind of having the wrong picture in the end. We are trying to move from a single species to an ecosystem-based management.
Valerie's team uses models to understand the big picture of fisheries in the Pacific.
And we're also using them for climate change predictions, for example, and try and have an idea of, example, what will be the impact of climate change on Mai, for example. And those models, of ecosystem models, are at the moment the only tool we have to look at the impact of fisheries and climate change on the bycatch species.
The tuna tissue bank is very valuable to scientists.
Yeah, there is more and more solicitation from the researchers because to them it's kind of an incredible treasure because going on in the field collecting samples, it's very expensive.
This big bank of tissue samples is available to the scientific community. You can find information on the Pacific Community website.